If you have been in crypto for more than 5 minutes, you have encountered at least 3 of these concepts and pretended to understand them. Market cap, gas fees, DeFi, liquidity, words that get thrown around in every YouTube video, every Twitter thread, every Discord server, and almost never explained clearly enough for someone to actually use them. So that is exactly what this video is. 10 concepts, plain English, no jargon left unexplained, no assumptions about what you already know. And by the end of this, whether you have been in crypto for 2 weeks or 2 years, you will have a vocabulary for this market that makes everything else you read and watch click into place in a way it never has before. Let's go through them one by one. Concept 1. Market cap versus price per token. Start here, because this one concept, properly understood, will save you from one of the most expensive mistakes in crypto. Market cap is the total value of all coins in circulation. Price per token is just the price of one coin, and they are not the same thing. A coin at 50 cents with 10 billion tokens in circulation has a market cap of $5 billion. A coin at $50,000 with 21 million tokens in circulation, that is Bitcoin, has a market cap of over $1 trillion. The cheap coin is not a better deal just because each unit costs less. Its potential upside depends entirely on how much the total market cap needs to grow to reach your target price, not on how many zeros are before the decimal. Before you buy anything, look up the fully diluted market cap. That number tells you how large this network needs to become for the price to hit your target. If reaching your target would make the project larger than most Fortune 500 companies, that is useful information to have before you invest. Concept 2. Tokenomics and supply. Tokenomics is just the word for the economic rules governing a coin. How many tokens exist right now? How many will ever exist? Who holds the ones that have not entered circulation yet? And this matters enormously for one specific reason: vesting schedules. Most crypto projects lock large allocations of tokens for founders, early investors, and team members and release them gradually over months or years. Every time those locked tokens unlock, the people holding them can sell. Because they got in at a tiny fraction of the current price, they almost always do. This is called sell pressure, and it is invisible to most retail investors until the price starts dropping for no obvious reason. The fix is simple. Before you buy anything, check the vesting schedule. Sites like Tokenomics publish this data for hundreds of projects. If a large percentage of total supply unlocks in the next 6 to 12 months, that is structural sell pressure built into the asset, regardless of how good the technology is. Concept 3. Consensus mechanisms, proof of work versus proof of stake, and beyond. A consensus mechanism is how a blockchain network agrees on which transactions are valid. Bitcoin uses proof of work. Miners compete to solve complex mathematical puzzles. The winner adds the next block and receives newly minted Bitcoin as a reward. It's energy intensive. Bitcoin consumes more electricity than many small countries, but it's also the most battle-tested security model in the entire industry. Proof of stake works differently. Validators are chosen to add blocks based on how many coins they have staked, locked up as collateral. No energy-intensive puzzles. Much faster, much cheaper to run. Ethereum switched to proof of stake in September 2022, called the merge, and cut its energy consumption by over 99% overnight. Then there are variations. Delegated proof of stake, used by networks like HBAR's Hedera, which selects validators through governance rather than random selection, and the Stellar Consensus Protocol, used by XLM, which uses overlapping trusted groups of nodes to achieve agreement in 3 to 5 seconds with minimal energy. The key takeaway is that different consensus mechanisms represent different trade-offs between security, speed, energy use, and decentralization. Understanding which one your coin uses tells you a lot about what it was designed to optimize for. Concept 4. Wallets and self-custody, hot versus cold, keys versus coins. A crypto wallet does not actually store your coins. The coins live on the blockchain. What the wallet stores is your private key, the cryptographic password that proves you own those coins and authorizes you to move them. A hot wallet is connected to the internet, the app on your phone, the browser extension like MetaMask, convenient, fast, but exposed to hacking, phishing, and any vulnerability in the software. A cold wallet, a hardware device like a ledger or Trezor, stores your private key offline, air-gapped, not accessible remotely, the most secure way to hold crypto. The phrase that matters here is not your keys, not your coins. If your crypto is on an exchange, the exchange holds the private key, not you. You own a claim on the coins, not the coins themselves. FTX, the second largest crypto exchange in the world at its peak, collapsed in November of 2022 and took billions in customer funds with it. The customers who had moved their coins to hardware wallets lost nothing. The ones who trusted the exchange lost everything. $2.37 billion in crypto was stolen in just the first half of 2025. Self-custody is not optional for serious holders. It's the difference between owning your coins and hoping someone else holds them safely for you. Concept 5. On-chain data, what it is and why it beats price charts. Every transaction on a public blockchain is visible to anyone who knows where to look, not just the price, the actual movements of actual coins between actual wallets in real time, permanently recorded, impossible to alter. On-chain data includes daily active addresses, how many unique wallets are actually transacting, which tells you whether real people are using the network or whether the volume is manufactured. Exchange reserves, how many coins are sitting on exchanges available for sale, which when falling signals accumulation and when rising signals potential sell pressure. Whale wallet movements, what the largest holders are doing with their positions, and developer activity, the volume of code commits on a project's GitHub repository, which is the hardest metric to fake and the most reliable signal of whether a team is actively building. The IMF published research in 2025 confirming that larger, more informed crypto investors increase their holdings before price increases, while retail investors reduce theirs before price increases. The large investors are reading on-chain data. The retail investors are reading price charts. Those are not the same information source. Tools like Glassnode, Santiment, and Nansen make on-chain data accessible to anyone willing to look beyond the chart. Concept 6. Liquidity, why it matters more than price. Liquidity is how easily an asset can be bought or sold without moving the price significantly. A highly liquid market, Bitcoin, Ethereum, means you can buy or sell millions of dollars worth with minimal price impact. A low liquidity market, a small altcoin with thin order books, means a single large buy or sell can move the price dramatically for retail investors in two specific ways. First, slippage. When you buy a low liquidity coin, the price you see and the price you actually pay can be meaningfully different because your own purchase moves the market against you. Second, exit risk. You might be able to buy a low liquidity coin easily, but selling a large position later, especially during a market correction when everyone is trying to exit simultaneously, can mean receiving dramatically less than the displayed price because there are not enough buyers on the other side. Before you size a position, check the 24-hour trading volume relative to the market cap. If the daily volume is less than 1% of market cap, liquidity is thin and your exit options during stress are limited. Concept 7. Stablecoins, types, risks, and how they work. A stablecoin is a cryptocurrency designed to maintain a stable value, almost always pegged 1-to-1 to the US dollar. As of 2025, stablecoins collectively represent approximately $300 billion in market capitalization. The two dominant ones are USDT, Tether, and USDC from Circle, which together represent about 90% of the market. They're backed by real-world assets, primarily U.S. Treasuries held in reserve. There are also crypto-collateralized stablecoins like DAI, backed by other cryptocurrencies locked in smart contracts, requiring over-collateralization to absorb volatility. Then there are algorithmic stablecoins, which attempt to maintain their peg through supply adjustment mechanisms rather than reserves. Terra USD was the most famous algorithmic stablecoin. It collapsed in May of 2022, wiping out $40 billion in market cap in 72 hours, demonstrating conclusively that algorithmic pegs without real backing are structurally fragile. The risks, even for backed stablecoins, are real. USDC briefly depegged to 87 cents in March 2023 when $3.3 billion in reserves were temporarily frozen at Silicon Valley Bank. In July 2025, the Genius Act became law in the United States, creating the first federal regulatory framework for stablecoin issuers, requiring 1-to-1 reserve backing and monthly independent attestations. That legislation was the single most important regulatory development for stablecoins in their 10-year history. Concept 8. Gas fees, why they exist and how they affect your returns. Gas fees are the cost of executing a transaction or smart contract on a blockchain network. On Ethereum, the network where gas fees are most significant and most discussed, they're denominated in a unit called gwei and fluctuate based on network demand. When the network is busy, during a popular NFT drop, during a major market move, during peak DeFi activity, gas fees can rise to hundreds of dollars for a single transaction. When it is quiet, they can be under $1. Gas fees exist because every operation on the network requires computational work from the validators who process it, and the fee is the incentive for those validators to include your transaction in the next block. For retail investors, the practical implications are twofold. First, gas fees eat into returns on small positions. Paying $20 in gas to move $50 worth of Ethereum means you start your transaction already down 40%. Always factor gas into the economics of any on-chain activity. Second, gas fee levels tell you something about network activity. High, sustained gas fees on Ethereum indicate high demand for block space, which signals genuine usage. And networks designed to eliminate gas fees entirely, like Stellar, which charges 0.00002 XLM per transaction, are making a deliberate architectural choice to prioritize accessibility over validator revenue. That choice has direct implications for which use cases each network can serve at scale. Concept 9. Block Explorers. How to verify anything on-chain yourself. A block explorer is a search engine for a blockchain. It lets you look up any wallet address, any transaction, any block, and see exactly what happened, when, and for how much. Etherscan for Ethereum, XRP Scan for XRP, Stellar Expert for Stellar, Hashscan for Hedera. Every single transaction ever recorded on these networks is publicly visible and permanently searchable through these tools. Why does this matter for you as a holder? Because it means you never have to take anyone's word for anything. When a project claims its wallet holds X amount of tokens, verify it. When an influencer says a whale just bought 10 million of a coin, look it up. When a stablecoin issuer claims its reserves are fully backed, check the on-chain holdings. Block explorers are the primary verification tool of every serious crypto investor, and they are completely free to use. The ability to verify any claim independently, without trusting any intermediary, without relying on any company's word, is one of the most genuinely revolutionary features of public blockchain technology. Use it. Every time something important is claimed about a coin you hold, open the Block Explorer and confirm it yourself. Concept 10. DeFi. What it actually is beyond the buzzword. DeFi stands for decentralized finance, and the cleanest definition is this: it is financial services that run on smart contracts instead of companies. No bank, no broker, no intermediary with a compliance department and a lunch break, just code running automatically on a blockchain. The most common DeFi applications are lending and borrowing protocols, like Aave and Compound, where you can deposit crypto and earn interest, or borrow against your holdings without a credit check or a bank approval. Decentralized exchanges, like Uniswap, where you can swap one token for another directly from your wallet with no exchange account required. And yield farming, where you provide liquidity to these protocols in exchange for a share of the fees generated. Total DeFi TVL across all chains, the total value of assets locked in these protocols, sits at around $130 to $140 billion in early 2026. Ethereum holds approximately 68% of that. The risks in DeFi are real and distinct from centralized crypto risks: smart contract vulnerabilities, protocol hacks, impermanent loss, governance attacks, and the absence of any deposit insurance or regulatory protection. But the opportunity is equally real. 90% of financial institutions are now actively exploring or using stablecoins for payments, settlement, or on-chain operations, according to Fireblock's survey data published in 2025. DeFi is not a fringe experiment anymore. Coinbase forecasts the stablecoin market, the foundational asset of DeFi, reaching $1.2 trillion by 2028. The infrastructure of decentralized finance is being built at the same time that traditional finance is discovering it needs to engage with it. Understanding what DeFi actually is, not the buzzword, the mechanism, is the prerequisite for understanding where the entire financial system is heading. So there they are, 10 concepts that every crypto holder needs to understand, clearly, precisely, and in plain language.
market cap versus price per token, tokenomics investing schedules, consensus mechanisms and why they matter, wallets and self-custody, on-chain data versus price charts, liquidity and exit risk, stablecoins, their types and their risks, gas fees and their implications, block explorers and the power to verify everything yourself, and DeFi, the financial system being built in code. None of these are advanced concepts. All of them are essential, and the gap between the people who understand them and the people who do not is the gap between making informed decisions and making expensive ones. You now understand all 10. Use them. If this gave you the vocabulary you needed to navigate this market more confidently, smash that like button right now. Reference videos like this only reach the beginners who need them the most when the algorithm sees them performing. That like is what makes it travel. Subscribe if you want the content that builds your understanding of this market from the foundation up. Concepts, data, analysis, delivered in plain language without assuming you already know everything. Now, here's your comment. Out of these 10 concepts, which one did you understand the least before watching this video? Drop it below. The honest answers in these comments are more useful to other beginners than anything I could add. And if you know someone who just got into crypto and keeps nodding along to words they don't actually understand, send them this video. 10 concepts, plain English, no jargon left unexplained. Start with the fundamentals. Build from there.